I'm sorry. My internet dropped. What did you say? I heard, you know what, I forgot.
No.
That's all
Sure.
Well, the three of you are going to have a lot of reading
A
to
lot of
do.
reading. Better not be any of those weird names in there.
One part has them, so let's see who
I'll
gets
take
them.
that. I'll take that one.
Let's see
I
who
don't
gets them.
mind.
Now, the two
20,
chapters
22
together
and 23.
have 44 verses.
Whoa.
So let's see. That is what?
So there's
That
four of
that's
us.
15
Everybody
verses,
does
and one get
everybody does
14.
11, and you do the first 11.
Yeah,
In
I could
22? Okay.
do the last 11.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I'll do the last 11. All right, let's see now. Chapter 22, the first 11 verses. Well, if Pam, if you want those hard word names, you'll have to do the second 11 verses.
I don't mind.
Okay.
Tell me again the
All right,
chapter.
hold
I'm
on.
sorry.
Well,
Yeah.
the thing is, yeah. So the thing is now is, so who wants to read first between you?
Well,
Oh, Susan, you will read first. So Susan, you read from chapter 22, verse 1 to 11, verses 1 to 11. Then Pam will do 12.
I'm
What is
here.
that?
Yeah,
12 to
I wanted to put
23
some
or
more
12 to
lighter.
22? 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 12. 12 to 22, Pam. You will do, sorry. Yeah. Oh, Pam, just do 12 to 24, man.
24. Yeah.
To the
Yeah.
I will. Yes.
But
Okay.
well, let me see. No, let's
And
do it this way.
here
Hold
comes
on, hold
Bryce.
on.
Here comes Bryce. Remember, he
Oh,
wanted to read as well.
I'll let him read. I'll let him read his place of me. Susan, you read 1 to 12, which is 12 verses. Pam, you do 13 to 24, which is 12
Yes.
verses.
Okay.
And then Linda, you do
Yes.
1 to 11.
In
No, not 1 to
23.
11,
Okay.
1 to 10. You will do 1 to 10 of chapter 23. And if Bryce wants to read, he'll do 11 to 20.
Okay.
So you both have 10 verses. Okay. So go
sounds
ahead,
great.
Susan.
Is Bryce there? Okay.
Yeah,
He comes.
I see his room,
He came
so-
on, but I don't see him yet.
Okay. I don't either.
He's here. Yeah,
Okay.
right here.
Sometime later, God tested Abraham, and he said to him, Abraham, right? Here I am, he replied. Then God said, take your son, your only son, Isaac, whom you love, and go to the region of Moriah. Sacrifice him there as a burnt offering on one of the mountains, and I will tell you about. Sorry. Early in the morning, Abraham got up and saddled his donkey. He took with him 2 of his servants and his son Isaac. When he had cut through the wood for the burnt offering, he set out for the place God had told him about. On the 3rd day, Abraham looked up and saw the place in the distance. He said to his servants, stay here with the donkey while I and my boy go over there. We will worship, and then we will come back to you. Abraham took the wood for his burnt offering and placed it on his son Isaac, and he himself carried the fire and the knife. As the 2 of them went together, Isaac spoke up to it and said to his father, Abraham, Father. Yes, my son, Abraham replied. The fire and the wood are here, Isaac said, but where is the lamb for the burnt offering? Abraham answered, God himself will provide the lamb for the burnt offering, my son. And the 2 of them went together. When they reached the place where God had told them about, Abraham built an altar there and arranged the wood on it. He bound his son Isaac and laid him on the altar on the top of the wood. And then he reached out his hand and took the knife to slay his son. But then the angel of the Lord came to him from heaven. Abraham, Abraham. Here I am, he replied.
Thank you. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. What? 12. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and do not lay a hand on the boy, he said. Do not do anything to him. Now I know that you fear God because you have not withheld from me your son, your only son.
Thank you.
Abraham looked up, and there in a thicket he saw a ram caught by its horns. He went over and took the ram and sacrificed it as a burnt offering instead of his son. So Abraham called the place, "The Lord will provide." And to this day it is said, "On the mountain of the Lord it will be provided." The angel of the Lord called to Abraham from heaven a second time and said, "I swear by myself, declares the Lord, that because you have done this and have not withheld your son, your only son, I will surely bless you and make your descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky and as the sand on the seashore. Your descendants will take possession of the cities of their enemies. And through your offspring, all nations on earth will be blessed because you have obeyed me." Then Abraham returned to his servants, and they set off together for Beersheba. And Abraham stayed in Beersheba. Sometime later, Abraham was told, "Milcah is also a mother. She has borne sons to your brother Nahor." Uz was the firstborn, Buz his brother, and Chemel the father of Aram. Chesed, Hazo, Pildash, Jidlaph, and Bethuel. Bethuel became the father of Rebekah. Milcah bore these 8 sons to Abraham's brother Nahor. His concubine, whose name was Reumah, also had sons, Tebah, Gayam, Tahash, and Makkah.
Great. Congrats. You did well.
Yay.
Good job, Pam.
Go ahead, Linda. Thank you, Pam. Go ahead, Linda.
Sarah lived to be 127 years old. She died at Kirath Arba, that is Hebron, in the land of Canaan. And Abraham went to mourn for Sarah and to weep over her. Then Abraham rose from beside his dead wife and spoke to the Hittites. He said, "I am an alien and a stranger among you. Sell me some property for the burial site here so I can bury my dead." The Hittites replied to Abraham, "Sir, listen to us. You are a mighty prince among us. Bury your dead in the choicest of our tombs. None of us will refuse you his tomb for burying your dead." Then Abraham rose and bowed down before the people of the land and the land of the Hittites. He said to them, "If you are willing to let me bury my dead, then listen to me and intercede with Ephron, son of Zohar, on my behalf. So he will sell me the cave at Machpelah,
Yeah, Machpelah.
which belongs Machpelah. Okay.
Go ahead.
Which belongs to him and is at the end of his field. Ask him to sell it to me for the full price as a burial site among you." Ephraim the Hittite was sitting among his people, and he replied to Abraham in the hearing of all Hittites who had come to the gate of his city. "No, my lord."
Wait, Bryce, are you there? No, he's not.
No, he's
Okay.
not.
Okay, let me continue. No, my lord, he said, "Listen to me. I give you the field, and I give you the cave that is in it. I give it to you in the presence of my people. Bury your dead." Again, Abraham bowed down before the people of the land, and he said to Ephron in their hearing, "Listen to me. If you will, I will pay the price of the field. Accept it from me so I can bury my dead there." Ephron answered Abraham, "Listen to me, my lord. The land is worth 400 shekels of silver, but what is that between you and me? Bury your dead." Abraham agreed to Ephron's terms and weighed out for him the price he had named in the hearing of the Hittites, 400 shekels of silver, according to the weight current among the merchants. So Ephron's field in Machpelah near Mamre, both the field and the cave in it, and all the trees within the borders of the field, was deeded to Abraham as his property in the presence of all the Hittites who had come to the gate of the city. Afterward, Abraham buried his wife Sarah in the cave in the field of Machpelah near Mamre, which is at Hebron, in the land of Canaan. So the field and the cave in it were deeded to Abraham by the Hittites as a burial site. Okay, all right. Let's go from the top. And I'm sorry I can't look at you all. I have to look at my screen for my notes. Now, the first thing I want to share, let me get to my space, is that Christians usually call this story in chapter 21, the first 19 verses, where we have this the proposed sacrifice of Isaac. Christians normally call it the binding of Isaac. The Jews call it Akedah, and the thing about this account is, it is that this near sacrifice that happened to Isaac is recited on a daily basis by Jews during the morning of a synagogue service. So it is an important part of scripture as far as the Jews are concerned. And they recite this daily during the morning synagogue service. That's the first thing I would share.
So, sorry, do they recite the whole 20?
All the 19 verses.
Wow.
First, chapter 22 from verse 1 to 9, chapter 22 from verse 1 to verse 19. So they do that. And the other thing I will mention here is that there's no, as far as I can remember, there's no other event recorded in the Old Testament that kinds of like prefigure that is so close to that of the whole passion of Christ as Abraham's call to obedience in this chapter. Yes. And also what is important about this chapter is Genesis 22, that is that this is the last recorded or last record of Abraham's direct experience with God. So how he had this thing with God when God told him to go and take his son to sacrifice him. This was the last encounter that Abraham had with God as a direct experience, a direct encounter. One of the things I also say to folks is that when you see wait a minute. Let me see. I thought it was here. What do you all translation have? You all have Abraham. God calls Abraham only once in verse 1, or he says Abraham.
And so sometime later, God tested Abraham and he said to him,
No, it's not there. I'm sorry. It's lower down. Because I know God said in this chapter, Abraham, but when I get to that, I now realize I haven't gotten to that yet. That's in verse 11. So when I get to that, I'll talk about that. But so we have this chapter is the last record of Abraham's direct experience with God. And it also records Abraham's final command as well. And when we look at this chapter, it is apparent that Isaac is old enough that he can carry the wood. We see that in verse 6, that Abraham took the wood for the burnt offering and placed it on his son Isaac, and he himself carried the fire and the knife. So it is believed that Isaac at the time was probably about 13 years old, which means that Ishmael was probably gone about 10 years before that, because we believe that Ishmael left with his mother when Isaac was about 3 years old. So Isaac would have been 13 years old at the time and old enough to carry the wood himself, as we see him taking it in verse 6. We also realize that this whole story is a test of Abraham's faith in God, his trust in God, and whether or not he would be obedient to God. Because, it is quite likely that Abraham could have said, and many people would have, you've given me a son. No, you want to take him away from me? You said he is going to be the one that is going to multiply and make me a great nation. So, how could you then want me to go and sacrifice him? Want me to go and kill him? And therefore, it is quite likely that if Abraham was not who he was, he could have said, God, I ain't so sure, but I'm willing to trust you on this one. Uh, and he could have, he had the choice either to trust God, that if he was going to do this, that God was going to make something happen, that it wouldn't happen, or he could have taken matters into his own hand and say, God, I'm not trusting you on this. I'm going to take matters into my own hand and make sure that my son live so that I could be head of a great nation. However, Abraham does not do that. He trusts God. He remained faithful. He was obedient. The other thing I want to mention is at this time, remember that Abraham is in Canaan. Canaan is what is Israel. Canaan is what is the promised land, but it is not officially the land that God promised to the people of Israel. Remember, God told Abram to pick up and go, and I will lead you to a land that I will show you. This happened to be the land. We know that God, obviously, in his mind, was going to give the Israelites, his people, the Hebrew people, this land, since he allowed Abraham to go there. But at the same time, when Abraham does get to Canaan, it is filled with people who would have been classified as pagans, who did not worship God, although they do see in Abraham that he must be some person very important. And therefore they wanted to treat him big special, as you will see later on. He's a foreigner. He's an immigrant. He is an alien. I think one of your Bibles said he's an alien, and therefore, but yet the people, the Hittites there, they treated him very well. They called him a prince. They realized that he was a man that was a chief, and therefore who was prominent among his people, and therefore they were willing to. And as I think we remembered in chapter 21, when we had King Abimelech, he too saw him to be a man of God and a prominent man. So there's something about Abraham that people can see that he's a prominent man, he's a man of God, and they treat him, even although he's a foreigner, they treat him very well. And so that is what you see happening here. The other thing I want to mention right at this point is the whole notion of sacrificing children. This was something that happened back in those days in that part of the world, in Canaan. Remember, at this time,
they really did sacrifice.
Oh yes,
humans?
oh yes.
It happened all over the world.
Yeah, it still happens now in this world. That happens in Africa right now. It happens in various parts of this world. But in Canaan, that used to happen. Now you may ask, well, why would God choose some Canaanite way of sacrificing Isaac? But it was customary in that time. In fact, if you go into in that part of the world, if you go into a Canaanite area where there's a Canaanite cemetery, you will see clay jars, huge clay jars, still with bones of sacrificed children in them. It was something that happened. So the idea of sacrificing Isaac was not that far-fetched. It was something that happened then. And it is quite possible that even when Abraham people lived there, they may have done the same thing as well. Who knows? Abraham may not have, but when you have a large caravan of people and all that good stuff, you don't know who will do what. The I was going to say something else. Oh, and it is gone from my mind. I don't remember now, but I was going to say something else about that. Um, and the thing is about it is, you may ask yourself, what is the difference between Satan testing us and God testing us? And the thing is that when Satan tests us, he wants to destroy us. Whereas when God tests us, he wants to strengthen us and give us the opportunity to prove ourselves worthy. So they're tests, but they're different types of tests. The devil's test is to want to destroy us. Abraham, God's test is a matter of proving our obedience, proving our worthiness, strengthening us for what challenges may be ahead. So, just in case you were wondering about that. The region of, yes, Pam?
I'm confused by the second line. Take your son, your only son. We all know that he has Ishmael as well.
Right. But where is that again?
Verse 2.
Oh, verse 2.
Genesis.
Good question. Yes, and God knows he had Ishmael, but in this case, I believe that when he says, "Take your son, your only son," we are talking about the only son along the promised seed line, and remember, that is what takes
Okay.
precedence. That is what takes precedence. So when God say, "Take your son, your only son," this does not include Ishmael at all. He's not part of the equation. It's not that it's not that Abraham doesn't have a son, but by saying only son, God is talking about the only son who will inherit and carry on, that would lead down to Jesus. You get what I'm saying? Right.
Yeah.
So that is why he would have said that.
Okay.
The word Moriah, just that you saw the region of Moriah in still in verse 2, that just for lack of word, what words mean, it means sight or spectacle or vision, and that's because it comes off the Hebrew word. Oh, I was wondering who gone. That's Bryce, which means to see. That's where it comes from.
Which word was that?
Moriah.
Moriah. Okay.
Moriah. We're in verse 2. Go to the region of Moriah.
Okay.
Um,
And it means to see, or
What does it mean? Moriah means.
it means it comes from a Hebrew word meaning to see, and so it means sight or vision or spectacle. And note also that this is not the first time that God tested Abraham. God had tested Abraham already when he told him to leave which was it? Haran, I think it was. Was it Haran, or where I think it was Haran, yes, where he told him to leave Haran and leave his family and all the people that were his father and their household and what he was accustomed to, and to go to the land that I will show you. And you see Abraham obey right away, and with faith in God, and he left. Now we see Abraham obeying again when it came to the sacrificing of his son. He obeys again. Let's see. Let me see what else I wanted to say about that. And here you see, God gives Abraham 3 commands. He said, "Take your son, your only son, your beloved Isaac." He said, "Go to the region of Moriah," and he says, "Offer him as a burnt offering." And so you see That is the command that God gives to Abraham, and Abraham complies. Um, no, you know, uh, at this time, if my mind serves me correctly, Abraham is at Beersheba. This is where in chapter 21 you heard that he was in Beersheba. He had talked to this man, the king Abimelech, and Abimelech allowed him to be at this part of this land. And so you see Abraham is in Beersheba, and he is traveling to the region of Moriah, which really was about a 3-day journey. It was about 50 miles. Um, and so he is on this 3-day journey with his son and with 2 other folks with him. And one of those folks, one of those people that were with him could possibly, and this is a question that someone asked this morning, because could possibly had been his own nurse when he was a child, who was like his nanny, like his caretaker. And one of the things you will find when we get to Isaac and Rebecca is that when Rebecca leaves and goes to Isaac, she carries the person who used to care for her when she was a child and who becomes like her servant. And so in those days when you were, I guess, at a certain status, a certain level, the children each had their own nanny or their own caretaker. And when they left home as their servant when they went off to wherever they were going. And as I said, you will see that happen with Rebecca. Um, let's see. And for those who may not know too, this whole Moriah, where he probably went was because the name there's also a Mount Moriah that is recorded in Second Chronicles, and it's a mountain, a high elevation that is located in the city of Jerusalem, actually, and so it is quite possible that that's where. Abraham was traveling from Beersheba down to the Jerusalem area.
So the land of Canaan, that's near Jerusalem right now, or where's modern day Canaan?
Canaan?
Yeah, where's modern day?
Canaan, Jerusalem is a city. Canaan is the country.
Oh, okay.
Canaan is Israel. That's Canaan.
Oh, okay.
Canaan is the promised land. Canaan is Israel. But at the time before it became Israel or before it became the official land of the Hebrew people, it was called Canaan.
Okay.
Um,
I got it right here.
So you see that, Abraham, he took the child, and they're all you're told that the wood was there, the fire to make the fire was there. Abraham on that, and you see it there on the 3rd day, verse 4. So you can see it took some time. You see it there on the 3rd day. Abraham looked up and he saw the place in the distance, and he said to his servant, "Stay here with the donkey while I and the boy go over there. We will worship, and then we will come back to you." And it's interesting. He said, "We," and you can look at that and think, was he just trying to fool the servants that he and Isaac were going to come back? Because if
he does tell them they're coming back. Yeah,
they will want to know what happened about Isaac. Why it is a we. So you wonder, was he thinking that, or was he already sure that God will not sacrifice Isaac, and the 2 of them will definitely come back? And as he said to Isaac, when Isaac asked him, I see the fire and I see the wood, but I don't see the lamb. And Abraham responds, God will provide. And you have to ask yourselves, was Isaac,
Mhm.
not Isaac, was Abraham already in the frame of mind that God will do something that will not um,
Or was he just trying to make
sacrifice?
Isaac it? Was he just
Or
trying
was he trying to make Isaac,
Isaac
or
feel
was he trying to make
yeah,
Isaac comfortable? Correct.
and his servant saying, "Don't worry, we're both coming back."
Correct.
Uh,
Correct.
he didn't want to.
So, and we will never know because we can't pry into Abraham's mind. Um, um, you know,
He trusted God
but
to
yes, he did. He
come
did.
up with something else.
And I mean, and I will say this: he had every right to trust God because God had given him a child when he was 100 years old, and his wife was 90. So I mean, that's big enough trust as it is.
I think trusted God to
So
give him an out.
yeah, so he already saw how God can perform. He had something tangible to hold on to. So yes. Um,
And he could hear God's voice. I mean, they were having a
yes,
conversation there.
yes,
So,
yes. Um,
So why didn't God come down and tell him, you did well, and you were going to do this, and I forgive you? All right. The angel came down.
but he did say, but I mean, he did say that you realize that, that he's faithful.
Yeah, there was an angel.
That he's faithful, that he did not withhold his only son from God. So, I mean,
remember, you
already,
can't see the face of God because you'll die. So God didn't come down and talk to him personally. He sent an angel because if you look in the face of God, then you'll die, according to Moses.
God said.
yes.
God, God wanted to talk to him face to face.
Oh, then the angel came down and they saw the angel.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you see here, God does spare Isaac when he saw Abraham, when he saw Abraham was about to take his life. Abraham bound up Isaac and laid him on the altar on top of the wood. Then he reached out of his hand, took the knife to slay his son. But the angel of the Lord called out to him from heaven, Abraham, Abraham. And the whole notion of Abraham, Abraham, whenever God calls your name twice, it is very, very significant. He doesn't do it often. He did it with Moses when he called his name. I'm trying to think who else. He did it with a few people. Samuel, correct. He did it with Samuel, correct. And this is and when God does this, it heightens what is to follow, and it is a prominent way of God speaking to people who have been faithful and who He wants to to stress the importance of their faithfulness, and so you see that taking place.
You don't think that was just to get his attention and stop him from doing what he's doing?
It is a way of getting the person's attention as well. That is very true.
I don't like your mother using your middle name.
Oh yes, it was like my mother saying Anthony Bryan.
Exactly. You're going to stop what you're doing right then and there.
Yeah, it's like my mother used to say to me, Bryce Richard Howe, get your butt down here, father.
That's right.
Yes. So
right.
I hate that all the time when my mom and dad used to say that to me. I used to say like, oh shoot, now I'm really in trouble.
Yes, but it is, and you are right, Linda, that it also captures your attention.
Yeah.
Your attention, correct.
I mean, it's like,
and also in addition to that too, is that it also lets you know that it is God who's calling, because I think that too is part of the whole equation. You don't have to worry about who is calling; it is God who is calling. or who's speaking, I should
Well,
say.
it wasn't God when I was a kid, however.
I know.
It was my
your
parents
mom.
that called me, not when I was a kid, Father.
I understand that.
No, but
God did not call me. It was my parents that called me.
Oh yes. Oh
they put
yes.
the fear of God in you when they called you.
Yeah. But that's true
Right.
too. They put the fear of God in you. It's right. Let
When
me
they
tell
call
you.
your name.
My mother
They
had it
did
with
put
my
the fear
Right,
of God
exactly.
in you.
Yeah.
It was not God himself. No. I have never seen God face to face because I've gone to church so many times in my life. I've gone to St. Mary's Episcopal Church down here in Florida, and I've gone to All Saints Episcopal Church down in Florida. But I have never seen God face to face. And I go to my home church, St. Jude's Episcopal Church in Wantor. So I have never seen God face to face.
Yes.
Then you
Yes.
could at the age
All
of
right, let's move on. Let's move on.
Hooligan.
So what we see happening here is
Are we?
is Abraham, God exonerating, well, exonerating is not the word, God confirming and praising Abraham for his faithfulness in not withholding his own son. And God pronounced blessings on him, that he will be blessed, that he will have descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky, as sand on the seashore, and your descendants will take possession of the cities of their enemies, and through your offspring, all nations on earth will be blessed, because you have obeyed me. Then Abraham returned to his servants, and they set off together for Beersheba, and Abraham stayed in Beersheba, which is where he had originally come in the first place. Um, um,
But the Jews, they read all this every
morning
Sabbath.
in synagogue.
Oh,
No, they do this daily in the synagogue.
and it's because
It shows his faithfulness.
It shows
Testing.
Abraham's faithfulness. This now becomes the height of Abraham's faithfulness.
right.
Abraham's obedience to God. I mean, yes, he left where he was living and he went. He was faithful, but now you're going to kill your own child.
I guess I didn't know Abraham played such a big part in the Jewish.
He's the main father. He's their forefather.
He's
He is the most prominent. He is the most prominent human being in Judaism.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, in all three religions,
The
right?
he is the most prominent individual. Well, Jesus is in the Christianity.
Yeah.
I mean, but
Abraham
Abraham
there,
is
yeah.
seen as our forefather. But Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob are the three most prominent people in Judaism. The
Well,
three.
shows how much I know. Okay, that's good. I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. They're the three most prominent persons in Judaism. Not Adam or Noah or any of them. It is Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. Yes.
That's why they call these three religions the Abrahamic religions. You've heard that before.
Muslim.
Yes.
No,
Right, Sue?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you've never heard that? Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, Abraham is the most prominent human being in Judaism. Most prominent.
Thank you.
Followed by Isaac and Jacob. Those are referred to in Judaism as their forefathers, and it is in Christianity as well. They are our forefathers because Christianity came out of Judaism, and therefore it is.
Well, I've had friends that were Jewish. We never talk about that. So, okay, well, it's good to know. We have a niece who's Jewish.
Yeah, I didn't know about that either, Father.
Yes.
Good. Well, I'm glad I asked. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So yes.
Are we still on chapter 22?
Yes, we are. So let's see what else I want to add to that.
Now, why did they go through? What was the importance of Nahor's sons and that lineage? What's the importance?
I'm glad you mentioned that. The whole notion of Nahor's descendants. Now, Nahor is Abraham's brother. He was one of Terah's, which is Abraham's father's sons. But the importance for putting this here I believe, is to prepare the way for Rebecca,
Oh,
who
okay.
is going to be the wife of Isaac, and it's just
Yeah.
outlining the family from which she comes.
Mhm.
And her father was Bethuel, and you will realize that after chapter 23, we're going to get into chapter 24, which talks about Isaac and Rebecca.
Oh, yeah, there it is right there. Yeah.
So,
Okay.
so, so my belief is that the reason for putting that there is just to highlight the coming of Rebecca into the story.
It was
Okay.
awfully close in the bloodline.
But no,
Yeah.
but again I'll tell you, it is close because she would have been a first cousin of Isaac. But the thing is about it is cousins are exempt. Even I
No,
think in
second cousins. Second, not first cousins. And this is a first cousin once removed.
hold on.
Second cousins can marry.
You sure about that?
I'll
In
look it up.
in our church?
I'll look it up.
You
And
might
I
be right. I
so
can't remember
She
what
was, she was
I
a
can't
first
remember what
cousin once removed,
the
though.
laws of infinity states anymore. They used to have those in where's my do I have one here? Let's see.
Yeah, I'm not. Where? How are you? What is the second cousin anyway?
Second cousins can generally marry in the Episcopal Church.
How is a second cousin different than a first cousin once removed?
A first cousin once removed is your first
The
is
child
so
is the
my
first.
first cousin once removed is my cousin's child.
What is the second cousin?
My son's so that same cousin's child and my son are second cousins.
oh,
Oh, okay.
Did you find it, Terry? Did you find it?
Yeah, according to AI, second cousins can generally marry in the Episcopal Church.
Okay, and it didn't say first cousins?
First cousins cannot.
Okay. Yeah, because I know there is a law of, and I think they call it. Oh gosh, I don't have the hymn book that will have that.
who's the
I
second?
probably left that at the church office.
Could be
Let me
Jeremy
just,
and
and which
Ryan.
outlines who you
Second
can,
cousin.
which outlines who you can marry. Um, let me see.
No. No, they're first cousins.
Maybe I
Hold
was
on.
Jeremy.
Yeah. No, I don't know.
Okay, say that again, Pam. What is a second cousin?
So a second cousin, so if I have a cousin, okay, which I do, okay, their child and my child are second cousins.
Oh, okay.
okay.
All right.
So
Okay.
they are Jeremy and I.
Okay.
Okay.
So they share a great grandmother, but not a grandmother,
Right. Right. So
because my cousin
Jeremy
is the
had a
daughter of
child.
my aunt.
That child would be second cousins to Alyssa.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
But then Okay.
Well, I don't know.
Let's-
I
we'll
don't
move
know in terms of the Episcopal Church, but in the Church of England, which the Anglican Communion fall under, a man may not marry his mother, daughter, father's mother, which is his grandmother, his mother's mother, which is his grandmother, his son's daughter, which is his niece, his daughter's daughter, which is his niece, his sister, his father's daughter, which is his sister, his mother's daughter, which is his sister, his wife's mother, which is his grandmother, his mother-in-law, his wife's daughter, I guess that's a stepdaughter if it's not a daughter. His father's wife, which is his stepmother, his son's wife, which is his daughter-in-law, his father's wife, which is his grandmother, father's wife, which could either be his grandmother or his step-grandmother.
That's his great grandmother, his father's wife. No,
No,
you're right. You're
Yeah,
right.
his
You're right.
grandmother.
You're
His
right.
father's
Yeah.
father will
Yeah.
be
Yeah. Wife.
his
Right.
grandfather.
Your wife.
Yeah, his
Not my.
grandfather's wife, which could either be his grandmother or his step grandmother. His mother's father's wife, which is again his grandmother or his step grandmother. His wife's father's mother, which is his father-in-law's mother. His wife's mother's mother, which is his mother's mother-in-law's mother. His wife's son's daughter. So I guess this is a stepchild. The wife's son's daughter will be a step granddaughter. His wife's daughter, which is a step granddaughter. His son's wife, which is his grandson's or his granddaughter-in-law. His daughter's son's wife, which is the same, is his granddaughter-in-law. The father's sister, which is his aunt, his mother's sister, which is his aunt, his brother's daughter, which is his niece, and his sister's daughter, which is his niece. It doesn't tell you about anybody else. That's it.
Those are the prohibited.
That's the prohibited.
Yeah.
That's why I knew a cousin wasn't involved. Now, the Episcopal Church might have put that in, but by growing up it was in our Book of Common Prayer. They call it the laws of kindred and affinity. I did not remember seeing cousin. That's why I didn't say cousin just now, because that is not in the Book of Common. That is not in the Book of Common Prayer for the Church of England. Those are it, and obviously by comparison, on the other side, it's for the wife as well. It would just be in the reverse.
I have one question.
For that, let you all see it. Let me send you the link. Hold on a minute. I'll send you the link now.
I wonder if that's more for inheritance as opposed to incestual. Because when you can't marry your wife's, who's not blood related to you, if you can't marry your wife's sister, then what's wrong with that? That's not incest. That maybe has to do with laws of inheritance.
Hold on a second. Let me just send it to you. Hold on. I'm going to put it in the chat. Just give me a second.
Oh, sorry. It's raining. I'm like, what is this? What's going on here?
Is it raining by you guys? It's raining here in Hutchinson.
I've just sent it to you in chat. It's called the Table of Kindred and Affinity. This is the 1949 version. So I don't know if there's a newer version than that, a later version, but that's the one that came up. But it's still in the 1662 hymnal prayer book. So if you click on that, it will take you to it. Did you all see it when it popped up in chat?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's where I'm getting it from. And that's why I said I did not realize that cousin was involved, because I know in the Church of England zone, cousin is not involved. You can marry a cousin. I mean, the royal family marry their cousins all the time.
Yeah, I ended up in the Catholic Church canon law. I was trying to get to the Episcopal Church canon law, but I ended up in the Catholic, and they talk about Roman degrees. And so a first cousin, what we consider a first cousin is two cousins are related in the fourth degree. So that's an invalid marriage. Whereas when you go further down the line, they're in the fifth or the sixth or further degrees of collateral.
Yeah, sometimes I don't understand how y'all do the cousins bit, because I know y'all talk about cousin once removed and all of that. We don't use that in Barbados. The way how we do cousins, like let's say for example, my brother's children and my children are first cousins. However, if one of his children have a child, then that child becomes my children's second cousin.
Correct.
Right.
Right. And then my
Oh,
children,
no, sorry.
yes, you
Not
see,
to me.
right, it's not, I
Yeah.
noticed that.
Yeah.
That child will become, if, what would happen is, if my brother has children, if my brother's children have children, which is his grandchildren, well, let me put it easier. My grandchildren and his grandchildren will be third cousins.
Hmm.
Whereas his grandchildren and my children will be second cousins.
Okay.
Yeah, that's better.
Because his children and my children are first cousins, his grandchildren and my children will be second cousins. My grandchildren and his grandchildren will be third cousins. And that's how we go down the line.
It sounds easier. So anyway,
That's how we go down the line.
And Isaac, we're legal. Okay.
So,
No, they were cousins.
so according to the Church of England, they're legal. Maybe not to the Episcopal Church, but the Church of England, they're legal.
Can I ask one question, please?
Yes, Bryce.
Well, my church is sort of like the Church of England up north by me, my home church, St. Jude's. We're an Anglican church.
Mm-hmm.
So we're an Anglican church. We're not an evangelist or anything like that.
So you're not called in St. John's Episcopal Church, you're called St. John's Anglican Church?
Yeah. Which is part of the Church of England.
Well, oh, no, we're getting off the topic, but let me just spill something here quickly. What's the name of your church again?
The Church of St. Jude in Wantor, New York.
St. Jude's Church in
Wantor,
where?
New York, 1173.
Wait, no.
117
Just tell me the city, please.
11793.
Spell the city for me.
Wantor, W-A-N-T.
Oh, yes.
A-G-H.
I see it. A-G-H. Okay. Let me just see here.
You could probably look it up on the St. Jude's Facebook page.
No, I have it here. Let me see what they call themselves. They only call themselves the Church of St. Jude, but who do they belong to?
We'll never get through 23.
It's a short one. It's short.
Oh.
Okay. Okay.
They're Episcopalian.
They're Episcopalian. Yeah, I just see it here. They're Episcopalian.
Yeah,
They're
and so
Episcopalian.
Bryce, your church, just like All Saints, it's part of the Episcopal Church, and the Episcopal Church is part of the Anglican Communion.
Union. Correct.
Oh, so it's part of the Anglican community. That I didn't know.
Yes. It is
Yeah,
a part
but
of the
it's
Anglican
also
Communion.
Episcopal.
Yeah, but it's an Episcopal church because, yes, it is an Episcopal church.
All right.
Yeah.
It's something I didn't know.
But they don't seem to call themselves St. John's Episcopal Church. They just call themselves the Church of St. John, which is interesting. But is that church, Bryce, and then we got to continue. But Bryce, does that church have smells and bells every Sunday?
No, we don't have any smells or bells.
Okay.
We only do that on Easter.
Only on Easter. Okay, yes, which is
Only on Easter. As far as I know, I've gone to that church since 1985. They have never done smells and bells except on Easter.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah. Because it's a high feast. It's the highest feast day of the church's year.
And bells we do on Christmas and Easter. That's it.
Oh, you don't do bells either?
No, we do bells on Christmas and Easter and Christmas Eve
Okay. All right, let's move on.
and Holy Saturday.
Okay. All right, let's move
That's
on.
it.
So, thanks, Bryce. In chapter 23, now this chapter, there's not a whole lot to this chapter because let me start out first. And the reason why I say that is because really and truly, it is mostly a dialogue between Abraham and the Hittites in terms of acquiring a burial place for Sarah. What I will say is about this opening is that you see they mention that Sarah was 127 years old when she died. She's the only woman in scripture whose lifespan is recorded. I don't know why, but she's the only woman whose lifespan is recorded, and we know that she lived 127 years, which meant that Isaac was 37 years old at the time when she died. Abraham would live another, I think, 38 years after she dies. So by the time Abraham dies, Isaac would have been 75 already. So at least he was a much older man when he died than when his mother died. And what we see here is that Abraham is deeply mourning the death of his wife. And he's asking the people who own the land to sell him a burial site for his wife. And we see these negotiations start taking place. And it is interesting because you see it mentions, where does it mention that? Did I put where it mentioned it? Let me see. Is it verse 10? Right. Verse 10, where it says, Ephron the Hittite was sitting among his people, and he replied to Abraham in the hearing of all the Hittites who had come to the gate of his city. And the gate of his city is where all the business was dealt with, was done. And so you will see that happens a lot in the Old Testament, where they're at the city gate. And that's where much of these kinds of negotiations and where situations that were going on in the city will be dealt. It was almost like the place where laws were made at some point and that sort of stuff. So you have here, they're at the city gate where the negotiations are being made for the burial site of Sarah. And you will find that he identifies himself as a foreigner, as an alien. And that meant that he owned nothing. He did not own any land in the area. And he was only there because of their permission for him to be there. If not, he couldn't even be there. And if they told him to get up and go, he would have had to leave. So you see that. But what we find is that they are very welcoming, very respectful, very friendly, whatever. They treat him very well, and they also wanted to let him know that they respect him, they revere him. He does not have to buy land, the tomb or the land. They're willing to give it to him. And you realize that that word Machpelah really means that this was a tomb that or a cave that had two chambers. If you ever go to the Holy Land, you will see tombs where there's this like cave. In those days, it would be this cave, and there will be like it will be like an M. So it's divided into two sections that you can put two bodies in. Do you get what I'm saying? And it becomes like a double. It becomes like a double cave. Um, um,
Now,
and
this
so
is off topic, but you've been there.
yes,
Are these tombs still there?
and well, the relics of them, there are relics of them still there,
Are
but
there bones in there?
I don't think now that's how they do it these days. No.
Are there bones in these
There's
tombs, or
skeletons,
or are there skeletons in these
mummies,
bones?
Uh, You're asking me a good question because
I mean, have
did
these
not
people
see.
been undisturbed all this time?
Hmm?
Have these people been undisturbed for the last 2,000 years, or when they're burying their dead in these
the
tombs?
cave is still there, or is it?
These caves, some of these caves are still there. There are relics of these caves that are still there.
But they're
Um,
empty. They're empty.
the one that I saw, there was no one in it because we were able to look into one and see how they were, and you know they're above ground, and there's like two arches that form the two sections of the caves, and you would just put the body in there. And that was it. But as I said, as far as I can tell, from what I remember, they don't use those kinds of caves anymore to bury people.
Well, I can't, I'm probably not.
Oh,
They'd run out of caves real fast.
what I don't.
so, so yes.
Got a balloon in there. What is that?
So it sounds like in this chapter, they were willing to give him the property to, none of us will refuse you your tomb, but he was honest and said, no, I want to pay for it.
Yeah. And that is important. I mean, someone was reading to me this morning that that it was being said in a footnote that if he had taken it from them and not paid, that it would have been an insult to Ephron. But I think it goes deeper than that. I think Abraham did not want to be obligated to these people. He wanted to own something, because really and truly all he was doing is squatting, and once they could have given him the gift and then came back and take it from him. And so, but now he had bought it, it is his. So he has a little bit of what's the word I want? Ownership now of the land. So he and I think that's where he was. He did not want to find himself in a position of obligation where they had the opportunity to reverse the gift if they wanted to.
Yeah.
Because people do that. People do that. I mean, you're squatting on their land, and they give you the tomb and the land with the tomb. But what is to say that they can't come back and say, no, I'm sorry, we are taking it back. But if you have ownership, that is more difficult to do. And so I think that is why he did not want to. He did not want to.
So did he stay there to protect the land that he bought, or?
Well, he's buried there.
Oh, okay. He is too.
He's buried there. In fact, they're all buried there. In that tomb, Abraham and his wife Sarah, Isaac and his wife Rebecca, and Jacob and his wife Rachel. They're all buried there.
Okay.
They're all buried there.
And people know where that tomb is?
It's the family tomb.
And do people know where that is?
Of course, oh yes.
Oh.
Oh, yes.
What about Esau and his wife, sir?
Is it like a holy site then?
Oh, you asked me if I saw it? I didn't see that.
No.
I
Is
did
it
not
a
see
holy
it.
site? I mean, is this a holy site?
It would be it is a revered site, I think. I did not see it, so I can't tell you that, but I will think, based on the fact that he is they are the forefathers of the Israelis, I would think that it would be.
Yeah, I would think so.
Can I ask one question, please?
Yes, please.
What about Esau and his wives?
Say that again.
What about Esau?
Oh, Esau was not part of the promised seed. I don't know what happened where he is, but the ones
Really?
that came down, the ones that came down through the promised seed was Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, not Esau. No.
I did not know that.
Yes.
So the Hittites and the Jews must got along, because otherwise, I mean.
No, I mean, I'm not.
He was willing.
I mean, I can't say that they got along. I would just say that they were very respectful and revering of Abraham for whatever reason.
Okay.
Whether it is because of who he was and the distinguished person that he was, whether or not it was God who was influencing them in the way they treated him.
Okay.
But obviously, they would have come back and claimed that land. And if the Hittites are the owners, then they would not have been as
Well,
you get
so
what
many
I'm saying?
tribes didn't get along. That's why I was kind of surprised. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Experience.
And the so that is so what we see in chapter 23 is a lot of back and forth, as I said, between whether or not you want to buy the land or give the land, and as you will realize, Ephron then in verse 14, verse 15, he said eventually that the land is worth 400 shekels of silver, but that's between you and me. Bury your dead. And Abraham jumps on it and he said, I agree to your terms. I will pay that amount of money for it. And
Wow.
that is what he does. And he pays Ephron for that part of his field. Um, and deeded it to Abraham, so, the property. So now he got a deed. He got paper. He got whether it was on paper or on the stone. He got or it was some string or whatever it is that showed that you own this. He owned it, and he buried Sarah there in the land of Canaan. So the field and the cave in it were deeded to Abraham by the Hittites as a burial site. So that was his first piece of property that he had there.
Okay.
Any questions on that? As I said, that there's not a whole lot happening in that chapter because of and the other part of that too is in buying that land, it would have protected the burial spot, the family burial spot, because nobody else could go there. It was his. So Ephron couldn't go and bury somebody else in it because it was his.
I
Bryce
got a
has
question.
Yes, Bryce.
When you mentioned that, so it's just Isaac, Rebecca, Jacob, his wife
Jacob
Rachel,
had Leah and Rachel. But the
and
seed, the promised seed flowed through Joseph.
really, wow.
Yes, out of the 12 sons, if you remember, Jacob had 12 sons.
Yes, I do remember that from both of his
10
marriages.
was from Leah and 2, but he had, will you put 4?
Well, two wives, two concubines.
Well, yes, he had more than 12 children, actually. He did have more than 12 children. But I'm talking about the 12 sons that came from the 2 wives. He had 10 wives from, well, he didn't have 10 wives? Am I wrong?
He had 2 wives and he had 2 concubines. The 12 sons came
Oh, yeah,
from
it came
those
from all 4 of
4.
them. Yes, you're right. Yes, you're right. It came from all 4. But the
Because
2
he
that
also had children from his maidservants as well
the
too.
2 that I'm talking about, though, are the 2 from Rachel,
Rachel,
which is Joseph and Rebecca. Sorry, Joseph and Benjamin, which is
Benjamin.
Joseph and Benjamin. And the line comes through Joseph. So it continues.
Yeah, I tell you one thing. Jacob was not a faithful man to both of his wives.
Well, that may be true, but a lot of them in that
I believe that. I'm sorry.
but a lot of them in that time probably weren't either. So I mean,
I'm sorry. I don't believe it because I don't believe he was faithful to both of his wives. He was not. I mean, how dare he has an affair with a maidservants? Please, what the heck was he thinking?
There was a lot of that.
Somebody ought to smack him upside the head back then.
Okay, hold on. But I would also say this to you, Bryce, because I mean, in those days, and not to say it is right or anything, but in those days, I mean, King David, for example, King David, who is said to be the greatest king Israel has ever had. You know how many wives they said he had? 700.
Well, I know he had Bathsheba. I know he had
No,
Micah.
no. Hold on. He had 700.
That's
And
a
he had
lot.
and he had 300 concubines.
David did?
I thought he only had two
Sorry,
wives.
not David. Not David. Solomon did. Solomon.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, okay,
Solomon,
okay.
which was David's son. Solomon, King Solomon. He had
Mhm.
700 wives and 300 concubines.
Yeah, because I know David only had three wives.
Can't remember how many wives David had, but that's easy to find out.
I know David only had three wives.
Just be
But-
glad you didn't have to support them all, right?
Say that again.
His child support must have been
Child
murdered.
support was outrageous. How did he support all those kids? 800 wives? Oh, children.
No, 700
700 children or wives?
wives.
Wives.
Wives. King Solomon had 700 wives. Oh, Bryce, David had 8 wives.
Okay, I was close,
King
but
David-
no cigar. So he had 8 wives.
King David had 8 wives.
Okay, I thought he only had 4. I'm sorry, my
no,
mistake.
that's all right. That's okay. That's okay. But King David.
I mean, they don't teach me that in Sunday school. They only taught me he had 2 wives.
Well, that's
They only
good.
taught me they had 3 wives.
You don't need to learn that in Sunday school.
I'm just saying, they never taught me that in Sunday school from kindergarten to 10th grade.
There's too many
Yes.
questions.
You know, a lot of women
All
died
right.
in childbirth. They needed more than one wife.
Yeah. Any other questions? Anybody have any questions?
No, I have a question. What's the balloon? What's the balloon behind you?
Oh,
That's your birthday?
Was at Valentine's and it said "Love you more," and I used it. When I sent out my. I used it when I sent out my message on Valentine's Day in my e-blast. That was behind. It was closer to me behind me because it was.
Okay.
It was the Saturday was Valentine's Day actually,
Yeah.
but it says "Love you more."
Sweet. I didn't get one. Okay.
You didn't get any?
I didn't get a balloon. I didn't see your blast, but anyway. Okay, next week, 24, 25.
So next week we will look at 24, read 24 and 25, but I think we're only going to be able to cover 24. It has 60 verses, 60.
Wow. Wow. That's about
Yes.
Isaac
Okay.
and Rebecca.
Yeah, it talks about
Yeah.
Isaac and Rebecca,
24. Okay.
and that whole story, which is a story that we should all know. How and this is a story that talks about a servant.
Yeah.
It talks about a servant that belonged to Abraham, that never we have never heard what his name is, and yet he plays such a prominent
Oh, yeah.
role.
He's the one who gets a wife for Isaac.
He's the one who got a wife for Isaac, who got Rebecca, and even there is queries as to whether or not this is the servant, because if you remember, I don't remember what chapter it was, but we passed it in Genesis where Abraham was willing to give his inheritance to one of his servants, since he was not having any kids. And so we're speculating that this particular servant could have been the person that he wanted to make his heir, when he did not have either Ishmael or Isaac at the time. But this servant is never named. We call him the unnamed servant, because his name is never being produced. But this servant will go out to find Isaac a wife and to bring her back. And I mean, when you read that chapter, you will see how shrewd he was. And the thing is about it is interesting because you can get to compare him later on with Jacob, because Jacob should have taken a leaf out of this servant's book, because when the family still wanted Rebecca to stay on, they want the dowry, but they still wanted the girl Rebecca to stay on. And it seems like if he would have had to wait longer for her to come to Isaac. And if you remember the story of Jacob, Jacob went, when he thought he was getting married to Rachel, they tricked him and gave him Leah. And he had to work for, what was it, about 7 years?
7 years.
Yeah.
7 years before he can get Rachel. So, if he was like this unnamed servant and he was a little bit smarter, he would have had to do that. But yeah, 60 verses in chapter 24. So it's a long chapter, but it's a very interesting chapter because it deals with the whole notion of Rebecca coming to and marrying Isaac. So,
And let's figure how many kids do they have? Lots.
Isaac and Rebecca, they had two,
Who?
Jacob and Esau and Jacob.
That's it?
Mhm.
Well, he had concubines. who had
As far as
more.
I can remember, I don't remember anymore.
Oh, okay.
Well, if there are more, you see, I don't retain these kinds of things. But if there are more, there were the two important ones: Jacob and Esau and Jacob. Esau was the elder one. Jacob was the younger one.
Yeah, they're
And-
twins. They're fraternal
yes,
twins.
They were, but Esau came out first, and the father liked Esau, the mother liked Jacob, and we see how the lady got her way. The mother got her way.
Yeah, that's like my great-grandma Ira.
Although
She had
divinely done because
Father.
it was to go through Jacob and not Esau. So
Father Anthony.
yes.
I just want
Yes,
to let you
Christ.
know, my great-great-great-great-grandmother, Ira, first had her son, Charles, when she got married to her husband, Jason. And then she had her two sons, Jason and Clayton. And they were fraternal twins.
They were what?
Fraternal twins.
Oh, nice. Good.
Yeah, they were born. Well, one was born in 1903. And then the next two were born in 1905.
Okay. Nice.
Okay. Well, we'll see.
All
you
So
right.
they were like
Well,
2
everyone-
years apart, really.
We'll see
Okay.
you on Sunday.
See you all on Sunday. You're not coming. You're not coming
Oh no,
to the quiet morning.
we'll see you Saturday.
We'll see you
Yeah,
Saturday.
We'll see
the
you
quiet
Saturday.
morning.
Exactly.
I can't believe it's March 7th already. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, girl, it's
That's
rolling down the road.
I know.
The year is going down. Pam, thank you so much for hosting.
Okay.
Have a good
Thank
night, everyone.
Don't
Love
forget
to
an email.
everyone. Bye.
Good night. Peace out.
Bye.